Hi everyone, happy Easter. I'm so excited for this time of year. We've been in quarantine for about 30 days now. I'm currently working from home. I am a nurse practitioner, but my job has allowed me to take call from home, which has been really wonderful with everything going on. And my husband has also been working from home. And of course, all Roman school has been canceled. So I really wanted to get back into vlogging and updating you on Roman's journey. And I thought, what a better day than to share our spiritual journey with you than Easter. There's a lot of components that go into Roman's story, but our spirituality, our faith in God is something that I feel I'm ready to share, and I hope that it speaks to you this Easter. So, a background on my religion: I am Catholic. I was born and raised Catholic, so is my husband. And I remain Catholic because I like the way the Catholic religion allows you to ask saints, angels, and the Virgin Mary to pray for you, intercede prayers for you, because I feel like they were something that brought me closer to God. Kind of imagining God and who he was seems a little bit above my comprehension level, and to have like a human aspect like the Virgin Mary and saints, and then even those stories of the angels in the Bible, really brought me closer to God, and I like to acknowledge them, and I like to kind of have a communication with them. And I will say, though, we have gone to other Christian churches and are open-minded to a lot of different types of Christianity as well, because we do believe in Jesus. And my faith actually started when I was very young. We visited a Greek Orthodox church in a very impoverished town outside of Akron, Ohio. And it was called St. Jude's Shrine. It wasn't even a church. It probably could fit total 20 people inside of it. And it was on the news. People have written books about this place, and miracles, like astounding miracles, were being performed there. And I was about 6 years old, maybe 4, maybe 5 even, when we went there. I think somewhere around that age period. I did have my sister, and we're 4 years apart, so I think that's when we started going. And the priest there always preached concepts and values. I honestly can't tell you much about the Greek Orthodox Church, because anytime we went to Mass there or spoke with him, it was always like bringing that human aspect, what that means, what things in the Bible interpret, and how God really wants you to be close to him and just be a good person. So I actually really enjoy going to Greek Orthodox churches and Mass. They're longer than Catholic Masses, believe it or not. And it's a beautiful religion too. And if it wasn't for Father Roman, my son, is actually named after, I don't know if I would have the faith that I have now, and I know for certain I would not have had it at such a young age. He was able to explain to a toddler school-age child like the concept of God and spirituality. And the last thing I just want to say about religion is, always remember, religion is man-made. None of us, and nobody in the church or any church, is infallible, and that if something turns you off from one church, maybe don't even consider switching religions. Just try a different church, try a different avenue, and explore other sides, because spirituality and faith have brought me to be the mom that I am. It got me to give Roman the outcomes that he has had, and I just really encourage people to find something that works for them. That's just about me. I kind of wanted to jump in Roman's story. So around 6 months old, I started noticing changes in Roman, and I honestly thought he was autistic. I think I've told people this before, but it was just, he never had these huge symptoms, but it was like this progressive declination from like what he was doing before. And I went back and forth to the doctors for months, and he was referred to neurosurgery at 11 months old. And that's when we got our answers. But in that time, it was really rough. I knew something was wrong, and I shared it with several people, but not many. And I kind of got the, hey, including my physician, your first time mom, and just chill out a little bit, and he'll get there. And so I didn't want to pull all the fire alarms, and just kind of carried this burden. And then we got the diagnosis, but we didn't know why Roman had hydrocephalus. We just got a preliminary image called an ultrasound. And the ultrasound said, yes, he has hydrocephalus, but we don't know why. And honestly, it could have been a brain tumor, a cancerous brain tumor. It could have been a severe brain malformation. I mean, there's a whole lot of, it could have been a brain bleed. I mean, there's a whole lot of reasons why Roman could have hydrocephalus, and it was paralyzing. I didn't tell anybody, aside from the immediate close family that knew. And we put Roman under anesthesia, and he got his MRI. And I prayed and I prayed and I prayed, and I just said, God, just please don't let this be right. Please take this away. You can cure it. I believe you. We don't have this definitive test. Please, please, please. I was naive. I didn't realize how accurate the ultrasound was. But also I was praying that it wasn't something even more serious that we would be battling. And we got the results that he had hydrocephalus due to a small brain malformation called Dandy Walker variant, which I'll talk about in a little bit, or maybe on a different day, but something that he could have a quality of life from. But his ventricles were so severely dilated, they didn't even know if it was all from hydrocephalus, if his brain was just a cavity. Show you a picture. Know what Roman's long-term results were going to be. At that point, I said, I need prayers. We're going for brain surgery. This isn't reversible. This is my fate. This is his fate. And we opened up on Facebook telling Roman's current story at the time, and that we wanted prayers. And for the first time in months, I can't tell you, within hours of posting that, and at first I couldn't even go on and read the comments because it was just such a devastating time. But in hours, I just felt this huge relief. I can't tell you, it literally felt like tension and pressure for months. And then I put this on, and everything crescendoed, and I was in a really bad mental state. And all of a sudden I started feeling this weight lifted, weightless, peace, and most of all, clarity. That day was the day that my mindset changed, and I said, no, Rachel, you're going to fight this. This isn't the only option. We have to explore. You have to fight. You can't take incurable, and you got to do your research. And my husband had that same type of epiphany, and we started researching and started our process getting the second and third and fourth opinions. All this led us to Dr. Worf, who is the most experienced hydrocephalus surgeon anywhere. He created a shuntless medical procedure, as you guys know, because he was working as a medical missionary, a Christian medical missionary in Uganda, and it just spoke to us so much. The other thing is he developed the procedure in Africa. And I remember that Paul and I, for whatever reason, we've always had this dream to take our kids, our unborn children, before Roman was even born, to Africa when they get a little bit older, and do a family trip and do something educational but fun. And we love to travel, and just Africa's been on our bucket list, but we really wanted to always make it a family trip. And how could I take my child with a shunt that could fail at any time, with a serious life-threatening brain condition, to Africa, where there's very limited care, in jungles, in remote villages, and know that I might not be able to get him to an emergency department with quality neurosurgeon to have a shunt placement? And I actually told the story to the first neurosurgeon we saw in Cleveland, and I said, is there any other option, And that's when we talked a little bit about the ETV, even though they felt that the shunt was a better option for Roman. And I left the office, very devastated. But then when we heard about Dr. Worf's story, we kind of took it as a sign. The other crazy thing that happened, my mom asked her parish to pray for Roman, and called up the parish nurse actually and explained what was going on. She said, well, we have this program where we make prayer quilts, and our quilting team puts together a quilt. We'll make it crib size because he was he was 11 months old, and each parishioner comes up after Mass and ties a knot on the blanket and says a prayer for Roman. And so each knot that the quilt is held together is a prayer, and they do a Mass dedication for him. So we were so humbled to have that. My mom said, absolutely, please. And the nurse told my mom, it's time to pick up the quilt. Your grandson's gonna love it. It has all these baby animals on it. And I haven't been to that church in years, aside from when we went and pick it up and we attended the Mass. They don't know me. They really don't know my mom either. She's kind of a person that goes to church and goes home. Definitely didn't know our Africa story or Africa dreams, and why that was weighing so heavy on my heart. Just like the quality of life I really worried about for Roman. And so I was excited. I was like, oh, baby animals, that'll be cute. So I pick up the prayer blanket, and this is what is on it. If you can see, I mean, just gorgeous. These are not baby animals to me. This is an African safari animal blanket. And again, this was one of those moments that I knew that God was with me and giving me a sign and telling me, like, you gotta keep going even though you feel hopeless. And I just get emotional because I feel like there was a big time when I felt God turned his back on me and kind of like wasn't there, or even questioned like God in general. And I just thought, like, how could you do this to me? How could you, all I prayed for throughout my pregnancy, I never asked for a gender. I never did. I just prayed for a healthy pregnancy. And I said, like, the one thing I wanted, I like didn't get. And I just felt like I believed in God my whole life, and I prayed, and like, why would I get something so tremendous and into my life? And I felt like betrayed, and I was mad. And then I went through a period of, honestly, like, doubt. I never stopped praying, and I don't want to say I didn't believe, because I still kept praying, but I really questioned my faith. And I never thought I would ever do that in my entire life. Every struggle, anything up until leading about this, I always prayed. Sometimes I didn't always get prayers answered in the way that I wanted to, but my prayers were always answered in some sort of way. Even if it wasn't exactly what I wanted, it was for the best for me. And again, opening up to people, and I shared this with some of our friends, our Christian friends, and some of our friends that were praying for us, even from other religions. And I just said, like, pray for my strength and my faith, and they did. And I felt it, and I was reconnected, and I never gave up. And then I got these huge, signs to me that God was still watching over my family. The other thing is I just said, why me? And someone told me once, why not you? You're not a perfect person. Do you think you're better than the rest of these people with hydrocephalus? Do you think that you are healthier? Whatever it may be. And in a sense, I did. I was like, I did everything right in my pregnancy. And I kind of was just thinking about me, but it's an excellent point. Why not me? We're very blessed with a lot of resources. I'm a nurse practitioner. Honestly, not looking at it, it's like, yeah, why wouldn't God give me a child that needs some extra capabilities and extra resources? And the other thing that helped me get through my difficult time in faith, again, wondering like why, and I don't have that answer. Like, I don't know why there's bad things in the world. People have told me, this world isn't a pure world. Not everyone's perfect. I'm not perfect. I've done terrible things in my life, that I regret or was mean to people or something like that. And is that karma? I don't know. I don't know if I buy that. Maybe it's something that we can't even grasp why this happens. But that I don't know. But I have peace in my heart. And the last thing that really helped me is going back to my faith in the Catholic religion, the Virgin Mary. She, just really, she's this woman figure in the Bible. This woman that was chosen to, like, not only birth the Son of God, but now that I'm a mother, like, God didn't just choose her to birth his son. Like, A mother guides a child, finds their strengths and flourishes them, takes their weaknesses and makes them, better. And he picked this perfect person, but yet she had to watch her son get crucified and made fun of, ridiculed, for just doing good in the world. And if God can let the Virgin Mary go through that, why not me? Like, why not me? And ultimately, like, watching her son, having to bury her son, like, I can't even imagine. And when I think about it like that, I have peace in my heart. And I hope, again, anyone who may be watching this with hydrocephalus or going through a dip in your own spirituality, never give up. Keep praying. It's okay to feel weak. It's okay to be distant. And don't be afraid to ask for spiritual help from other people. Ask your friends to pray for you. Call me, leave me a message. I don't care if you're a stranger. I will pray for you. I have been uplifted so much. I am more than happy to repay the favor to anyone who may need it. So I prayed and I prayed that hydrocephalus wouldn't be my son's diagnosis. I didn't get that prayer answered. And during all of this, and in the highest peak of questioning my faith and whatnot, we went to 4 different neurosurgeons, and they had all these mixed up opinions, but they all consistently said, like, with the amount of brain loss that Roman had, they didn't know if Roman, they could not tell me if Roman could ever walk or talk, because he wasn't doing either. And to think about that and where we are today, like, he is a miracle child. And I also always get reassured, because I know, being a mom, you're extra proud, but we have had multiple specialists, pediatric developmental specialists that are pediatricians, neurologists, neurosurgeons, like, all tell me this does not, his school teachers, this does not look like a child that has hydrocephalus. And when you hear that, you feel so grateful, and you know that even though, again, my prayers weren't answered in the exact way, because I would take hydrocephalus away from him in an instant if I could. I would erase that history and never go through that selfishly. But my prayers have been answered. And I just remember, going back to speech therapy. He was tested at 14 months, which was, a month after surgery. So the pressure was now alleviated. And he was 14 months old and tested at a 5 to 6 month level of speech. I left the appointment crying, of course. We worked so hard with him. But again, you just don't know what's going to happen. And at 19 months old, so 5 months later, he tested at a 2 and a 2.5-year-old's verbal speech capacity, which blew my mind. Like, I went from being like, my child is severely behind, to ahead, which is not even what I asked for. I prayed for him to just have a normal, average life. Like, there's enough suffering in the world. Life's hard enough. I don't want as much as I can to be stacked up against him. And God got me there, and he gave me the strength to keep on Roman. And there were so many times when I wanted to give up and just play with my son and do it mindlessly. But God gave me the strength to play with him all the time with intention and make sure we were hitting therapy goals. And I am blown away. The other day while in quarantine, we took him to the metro parks in a little off-beaten path, and it was so quiet, and the wind was blowing just perfect, the sun was shining, and I look, and Roman just takes off down a hill with duck rubber boots on, the wrong feet, and he ran like there was no tomorrow. And I was like, this is my Easter miracle. Like, this is something I never thought my son would be able to ever do, let alone so soon in his recovery, because he does still have, a small brain malformation that could cause him problems or not. And he still is only 1.5 years after his surgery. A lot of children live with some deficits permanently. And to see him run and talk, and just going back to thinking that I was told he might never walk or talk, and see him take off and wrong-sided shoes and these big rubber boots, I mean, my prayers were answered. The other thing is I didn't really share this with many people, but there was a concern about 3 to 6 months after his surgery that he might have a left-sided hemiplegia, which is a type of cerebral palsy. He kept clenching his fist and contracting it inward, and his left foot he always had an issue with. He had ankle braces before and after surgery called SMOs. And the problem is you can't always diagnose a cerebral palsy right away. It could take years because it's easy. And I say that lightheartedly because Roman has worked for every milestone that he has ever had. They say it's, easy being a baby, getting to those milestones, but getting to those more advanced milestones in childhood, like jumping, standing on one foot, hopping, those take a lot more skill, whereas the pincer grab, where you're grabbing Cheerios, needs to be more refined to hold a pencil or to build blocks and stack them up. That's when you start seeing if there's truly a deficit. And we worked with OT for quite some time. That was probably one of the biggest things. We still continue to do things to make sure we keep his muscles flexible, relaxed, and him to use his left and right hand as equally as possible, because now he should be showing a dominant hand. He was showing a dominant hand too soon, and then the contraction, and he would even sleep with his hand in a fist. And that's a pretty big, scary diagnosis. It's not something that goes away. And because of how much Roman has reversed, we don't have any concern for that right now. And even if that would be something, it would be very mild and something that responded so excellent to therapy that we can kind of breathe that sigh of relief. So you look at a child that was told they might not walk or talk, their brain was a shell, and they might have cerebral palsy. And then I look at my son right now, running, skipping, hopping, living the life that I prayed for him to be able to live. That is a miracle, and I just can't be quiet about that. And I just think about the signs that I had and those instincts that you have, those natural feelings. And if you're going through something, follow those. When you're in an uncontrollable situation, just keep fighting. So I am continuing his hydrocephalus journey. This is something he will live with his whole entire life. I don't want to throw up, the celebratory confetti too high, because I'm always nervous that something can go wrong or change, and that is the truth. But I do have to celebrate where we are now, and I have to share with you where we came from and where we are now, and how my faith and praying and prayer has continued to help me, even though this was the most challenging time in my faith, that God still persevered. And really, I feel like it's because of the people who were praying for us and the people who prayed with us as a group, who really got us through a time when we were too weak to do it ourselves. So again, everybody, I wish you a happy Easter. Christ has risen. It is a perfect reason to get out of your quarantine pajamas, have a nice little dinner with your family, and celebrate. If you're going through a tough time, I don't know why we have to go through it, but you can get through it. Just keep praying, don't give up, and always ask for help. I hope to see you in the future, and feel free to comment below any spiritual stories that you would like to share with me, or send me a video. I would love to chat and talk, because these things also inspire me, and these stories can keep myself ticking when we might hit another spiritual downfall. So we love you guys, and I hope to see you soon.
What happened?
We got here a silver sugar.